Welcome back to Boom and Bust. I'm your host, Tony Clement, having a conversation with Hillel Fuld. He is a tech columnist and Israel advocate. He's coming to us from the state of Israel. Hillel, we talked before the break about the disinformation campaign against Israel and their position in the war. It's in the media, social media. It's pretty well everywhere. Give us a sense as someone who's obviously looking at the conflict from within Israel, how does and how can Israel get its message out, a counter message to all of the propaganda that you're facing?
Well, when you're dealing with an enemy that has no restrictions and doesn't stick to the truth and doesn't even pretend to stick to the truth, it's difficult, right? Because we're sticking to the truth, and let's just be honest, the truth is always going to be less attractive than lies. And so when they come at us with, you're killing indiscriminately, and they're quoting the Gaza Health Ministry, which is literally run by Hamas, a terrorist organization that murders and rapes, what do you say to that? You could say, well, we didn't kill 40,000 people. And they say, but you did. Look, we have. So how do you answer that, right? That's challenge number one. Challenge number two is they obviously outnumber us 1,000 to 1. And challenge number three, if I'm being totally honest, as a marketing professional, I'll tell you that, their narrative, true or false, is very easy to understand and to digest, right? You are oppressing us, free Palestine. Again, true or not, it's not, but it doesn't matter because it's easy to digest. Israel's narrative is a whole lot more complicated. And so, it's a really tough game because we're really playing a different sport. But we're doing our best, sticking to the truth. And that, by the way, even when it's inconvenient to stick to the truth, we do that as well when we make mistakes because Israel's not perfect. But The reality is, for me, the most important thing is our integrity and our honesty and our moral clarity. And yeah, it's not gonna win. It's never gonna win over the lies and the deception.
Yeah, I'll just give you one frustrating example that I observed. Obviously, the number of casualties in Gaza has been a point of contention. The UN eventually, this is a couple of months ago now, said that this 30,000 number or 40,000 number is not accurate at all. That was the United Nations saying that. And everybody just shrugged, and the media in the West continues to use that number, even though it's been discounted, not only by Israeli sources, but by United Nations sources. Is that a good example?
Right. It's absolutely, it's ridiculous. I mean, anybody who comes at me with that number or any other number, my question is simple. Where did you get those numbers from? Give me your source. And literally, these people are quoting Hamas. I mean, how could you have a person in the West who stands for Western values quoting a terrorist organization? These are people that rape, that behead, that burn families. You're trusting their figures? Really? It's preposterous.
I want to get back to tech as well, because I know this is an area of expertise for you. Can you give us a couple of examples? You mentioned AI earlier. Some interesting advances being pursued by Israel startups or scale-ups these days, just to give our audience a sense of just how this economy is functioning so well.
Of course. So the truth is Israel dominates across pretty much all sectors of technology. Obviously, cyber is our bread and butter, but it doesn't stop there. And, it just happens to be today I was in Tel Aviv and I bumped into a CEO, founder of a company called Innoviz. Now, we all know in the near future, our cars are not going to have steering wheels, right? They're going to drive themselves. The question is how? Not to get too technical, but there really are three ways for a car to drive itself. One is cameras, which are limited, obviously, night and fog and other things. Then there's radar. And then there's LiDAR. And when you see an autonomous car driving around with that big thing on the roof, that's LiDAR. Obviously, our cars are not going to have that big thing, which looks ridiculous on the roof. So this company, Innoviz, developed LiDAR that's tiny and is now integrated into the new BMW 7 Series. And these guys are building the future of transportation. And that's just one example. But the truth is, again, it's across all sectors. You take any sector, from cyber to consumer tech to healthcare to mental health to any, really, cancer research. Israel dominates across all sectors. And it's really miraculous, I think, to see a country smaller than New Jersey in one could say the worst neighborhood on earth, dominating tech this way.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Obviously, historically, in the pharmaceutical sector, for instance, Israel has had a big lead, but it seems to be in other healthcare sectors as well.
Correct. Yeah, I mean, look at cancer research. I mean, you look at some of the leading cancer treatments and cures across the world, they were almost all developed in Israel, which is unbelievable. It really, from my perspective, it's really miraculous. And I, on a personal level, I have to say I feel very fortunate and blessed to meet some of these people who are literally changing the world every day with their tech. It's remarkable to see.
Well, it must be a great vantage point for you to understand what they're up to these days, because it's not only impacting Israel, but business across the world as well. Hello, we're going to take another brief break. We'll be back with you with another series of questions. Hang tight. We'll be back after these messages.